Welcome back to another episode of The Unfortunate Reality. In this week's episode, we are going to talk about a very popular debate that is going on the internet. Can Trump pardon himself? And if he can pardon himself, what would that look like? So we'll go into that. We're also going to continue on our adventure into Pride Month because it is June. Speaking of Pride Month, I heard through the interwebs that hundreds of protesters voicing opposition to Israel policies disrupted an LGBTQ plus pride parade in Philadelphia on June 2nd, bringing the celebrity march to a standstill. What's that saying? Two wrongs don't make a right? Yeah, so apparently the idiots are now fighting with each other. It won't be long now, guys. We should just wait it out. I'm sure they'll weed themselves off the planet eventually. And their nonsense is so nonsensical that eventually they'll just fight to the death. So let's just wait for it to happen. Bring popcorn and a chair. And because it is Pride Month and that June is also, or used to be, Father's Day celebration, I have a very special segment that I put together for all of my mommies that want to be daddies. Stay tuned. On to our relevant topic. Yes, I'm sure you've all heard by now, Trump did get convicted of all 34 felonies of what? We don't know. Nobody knows. Can't figure it out. Was it because he paid the hush money to Stormy Daniels? Well, that's not illegal. Was it because he didn't file it under campaign funds? Well, what about when Hillary Clinton didn't file hers under campaign funds? Didn't we just dismiss that? In fact, I think Barack Obama at one point was thinking about pardoning Hillary Clinton, and the only reason he didn't is because it would make her look guilty. So here we are with Trump, a convicted felon. From what I can tell, we are completely in uncharted territory in history. Gerald Ford did pardon Nixon just to get Watergate behind us, but that was a person pardoning another person, which brings us to the meaning of the word pardon, coming from a Latin root word meaning to condone or to donate to. So a lot of our constitutional scholars and lawyers are arguing that that means that you can't pardon yourself because you can't donate to yourself and you can't condone your own actions. So I read a very interesting discussion on We the People National Constitution Center, and it was between Brian and, I'm probably going to pronounce this person's name wrong and I'm sorry about that, but Cy. So between Brian and Cy, they had a discussion whether or not the president can pardon himself. Brian Colt is a professor of law in the Harold Norris Facility Scholar of Michigan State University Law School. Cy is James Monroe Cy Prakash. Sai Prakash. Prakash? I don't know. Correct me in the comments. Saya Prakash. James Monroe, Distinguished Professor of Law at the University of Virginia. So, they went into a discussion, and I'll make it brief and I'll highlight a few points for you guys. But they, of course, highlighted the constitutional rights. Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution says that the president shall have the power to grant reprise and pardons for offense against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. So, the constitutional right is very broad and the law has not been exercised very much. Gerald Ford, like I said, he did pardon Nixon. Constitutional right is very broad and the law has not been exercised very much. Gerald Ford, like I said, he did pardon Nixon. Thomas Jefferson pardoned the people convicted under the Sedition Act. And then George W. Bush pardoned those involved in the Iran-Contra. So there has been a few pardons, but never of oneself, besides a few unimportant governors and mayors pardoning themselves for ridiculous things. The American constitutional right of pardoning comes from the British royal pardon power, which gave the king the right to pretty much pardon anybody that he saw fit, even if they were a traitor. Even if they committed acts of treason, it didn't matter. He could pardon them if he saw fit. And then the argument of Burdick versus the United States was brought up, which is basically the notion that accepting a pardon means that it is an admission of guilt. So how is that to be used in this situation? If Trump is pardoning himself, is he pardoning himself because he is admitting to the guilt? But then Sai did bring up the fact that you can also be pardoned because it shouldn't have been a guilty act, that there was some kind of virtue in what you did, and even though it had to go outside of human law, didn't necessarily make it wrong. So you're not actually admitting to guilt, but being washed away of the guilt, or washed away of the crime because it shouldn't have been a crime in the first place. So although the entire discussion was very interesting, and I did learn a lot about pardoning, which basically is just a very broad law. The president could pardon everybody in prison if he wanted to. We wouldn't do that because we obviously understand that pardoning everyone in prison would just release every murderer, rapist, drug dealer, just the scum of the earth. Something to think about, liberals, that you don't want running around your entire country. So obviously, even though the power is broad, it's because we know how to use it. And in this, because this has never really been done before, is a big question on everyone's mind. So I don't know, let me know in the comments. Do you think that Donald Trump has the ability to pardon himself? Or do you think that the structure of the amendment makes it so he is incapable of pardoning himself? Let me know in the comments. They talked about the 25th Amendment in the case of him stepping down as president for a day and then letting vice president take over and pardon him on that day where he's president so he can resume his presidency with no criminal charges, which was very far-fetched theory. I also wanted to bring up the fact that Trump having to pardon himself is more than likely not going to happen, and this is something that's on everyone's mind, but really in the chance of it happening is slim to none. He is more than likely going to appeal the Supreme Court, which is where the decision for pardoning would have to take place. We'd have to go with the American Angelo law of letting the Supreme Court decide whether Trump could pardon himself, is the same place that his appeal will take place, and more than likely he isn't going to get prison time. New York, May 31st, Donald Trump said on Friday he would appeal the guilty verdict that made him the first U.S. president convicted of a crime, though he will have to wait until after his sentencing on July 11th before taking that step. And of course, they put the sentencing hearing a couple of days before the conservatives announced their nominee. Imagine that. Trump also broke record-breaking profits for his campaign after his guilty verdict, reaching over $53 million in one day for his campaign. A lot of Democrats actually donated as well because they are also sick of this crap. Anyway, so, can men get pregnant? Let's find out. Okay, this one is, my husband is pregnant with our baby.
My husband is pregnant with our baby.
I'm a Seahorse dad and I'm going to carry this baby. The haters, they really just look at me and say how disgusting I am, or that I'm grooming my children, or that they feel bad for my children. How effing disgusting. The poor kids' lives already ruined. But they've never met us and they've never met my kids.
Okay, so the thing I'll say about this is already starting out with the victim. Already, like, nothing about the baby. Nothing about, like, how excited you are to have this baby. It's all about the haters. All about how everyone is so mean to you on the internet. And everyone thinks you're disgusting. And everyone thinks you're grooming your children. And it's just... That's not science. Men can't get pregnant, okay? You're just a woman that sort of kind of looks like a man. And this video has... How many views does this video have? This video has 4,996 likes. That's a ridiculous amount of attention. And it's like nothing was mentioned about this baby. It's just such narcissism.
They never will. Negative comments don't make me want to stop. They make me want to continue. I think when I do start chest feeding that there is a possibility of people coming up to me then.
She's seeking the attention. She's out there openly seeking this negative attention that she's bringing down onto her child's life. That's so sad. Like, oh yeah, I bet people are going to say something when I start chest feeding. It's breastfeeding because breasts belong to women. Women have breasts, women breastfeed, and women have children. You're not a seahorse. That is a delusional person. I'm sorry, but that is scary. You're not a seahorse. And the fact that you're openly looking for haters, this was nothing about your baby. This was all about you, and you get attention. Chest feeding and being pregnant. You're ridiculous. You are inviting the hate into your life, and that's sick. All right, do we have time for one more? Yeah, let me check my watch here. Do we have time for one more? Quarter to a freckle. Half past a hair, as my grandma used to say. Well, yeah, I mean, if you look like a dude and you're pregnant and you have a baby, I mean, I suspect a lot of these questions were coming from doctors in the hospital. Maybe a few people on the streets. I just don't think that people really care about other people's lives enough to, like, interrupt your life to ask you these questions on the street. So I assume family, coworkers, probably hospital staff were asking these questions, if anybody was. Sometimes I just think these stories are totally made up, so everybody will feel bad for them. But anyway, yeah, if you're going to look like a dude and you're pregnant and you're going to give birth, and obviously you're giving birth through a vagina because that's where babies come out of, unless you guys have changed that now too. Do babies get to identify what hole they're going to come out of in a person's body now? Please let me know. You know, I wouldn't want to be politically incorrect and, you know, speaking real language. I would prefer to use your crazy nonsense words to make everybody feel more comfortable. But yeah, people are going to judge you. People are going to have a lot of questions. It's weird. We haven't seen that before. Why are you guys acting like this isn't something for, you know, hundreds and thousands of years people have been like this, and now all of a sudden you guys have a problem? No, it's the other way around. Hundreds of thousands of years, women have had babies, men impregnated them, and a couple hundred years after all of that, we evolved. We started living together and having what you guys or everybody calls the nuclear family. Nice name, by the way. Happened. Okay. So then we had the nuclear family, and then we lived like that for a really long time. And now all of a sudden, you're saying I'm a dude with a vagina, and I'm also pregnant, but I am a dude. And then you don't want anyone to ask any questions. Like, we're rude because we ask questions. Okay? I mean, I prefer to just ignore you. That's what I do. So, pick a team. You know? Like, you want everyone to know who you are. You want all this attention. Then when you get the attention, it's bad attention. I'm just convinced that you guys are never going to be happy. No matter what. Wait a second. Okay, wait. Did that say what I think it said? His donor being ashamed of having a baby by a trans man and keeps him a secret. Okay, I'm sorry. I mean, is this like a sperm bank donor? Because I thought that stuff was all under wraps anyway. I thought that... Or did you trick someone into getting you pregnant? Did you tell them that you were a trans man? I mean, what a bombshell that would be after you impregnated someone. Oh yeah, I got my girlfriend pregnant. Oh, just kidding, they're a trans man? Like, Because if this came from a sperm bank, it's all confidential from what I understand anyway. And if the donor was somebody that you actually knew and you didn't tell them that you were a trans person having a baby, that's fucked. This whole thing is good for you because these are actually real questions that you do need to be asking yourself, because this is something that you're going to have to breach with your child one day. They're not cute and small and innocent forever. One day they're going to grow up and they're going to realize that, 2 + 2 isn't 4 and what the hell is going on. And that's some bullcrap that you dragged them into that you have to explain to them. That's every parent. That's not just you. Every parent. Even if you're a cisgendered woman having children like a regular person. I don't even want to say that, because when I say cisgendered woman having children, that makes it sound like that is some kind of category. That's not. That's just how life exists. It's not even a category. But regardless, you have to explain some crap to your kids. So I think that people asking you these questions are not rude, and I'm very proud of the people that are bringing this to your attention. Love the dramatic music. Really trying to suck some feels right out of the internet, aren't you? All about you again. All about how you're sad because people don't like what you're doing. Welcome to being a parent. Also, I would just like to say that one of the things that he did not bring up in the video, or she, I'm going to go with what my brain says, she, because women get pregnant, men do not. Biological men do not get pregnant. And trans men are just women. This person looks like they are going through the transition, probably haven't had top surgery. It's hard to tell in some of those spots, but I assume later on when the child was older and they had stopped breastfeeding. I hope I didn't say chest feeding back there. Oh, I'm watching too many of these videos. It's ridiculous. Getting indoctrinated. So while breastfeeding, I assume that she kept her boobs and then afterwards had them removed. Anyway, this person is on hormonal treatment, which means that they are, one of the questions that was never brought up is, aren't you worried that you're going to die and possibly leave your child an orphan or a young adult without a parent? Because the hormones that they take cause things like osteoporosis, cancer, blood clots, and the list goes on and on of what some of those hormones that they're taking do to their body, which is a real chance that they could die a lot sooner than I'm sure that they were hoping. And that would really suck, because if your dad, mom, your seahorse parent dies while you're 16, 17, if they die, which I think the average age, the depiction for the age is around 50, 55. That means that you're just like barely in your early 20s, maybe mid 20s, and your parent dies. That sucks. So something to really think about for all these transgender parents, that when you're doing that to your body, even if you have a perfectly healthy child, I hope that it's something that you're all thinking about that have kids, and you're injecting yourself with these hormones that are potentially dangerous and life-threatening and could be fatal in the future. Think about your kids. You might not be here long enough for them. I hope to have my mom for my kids at least until they're adults. that's going to suck. You're not even going to be able to meet your grandkids because you were wrapped up in this social contagion and you just wanted to be trans for clout. Now, this person that I just watched might actually suffer from gender dysphoria. And for that, I'm very sorry, but you do need to put your children before yourself. That's just, your kids always come first. So I am going to hurry up and do this because our heroes into villains ties in with our earlier segment. Mr. Robert De Niro is our heroes into villains today, and for obvious reasons, because he gave this wonderful speech outside of the New York courtroom after Donald Trump was found guilty. Yes, that's Robert De Niro. I just love when the elites...
into inflating his net worth. A clown. But this city is pretty accommodating. We make room for clowns. We have them all over the city. People who do crazy things in the street, we tolerate it. It's part of the city, it's part of the culture. But not a person like Trump who will eventually run the country. That does not work, and we all know that. Anyway, we make room for clowns, to each his own.
Or old elites. I mean, he's so irrelevant. I don't even think a lot of the Gen Zs know who Robert De Niro is. So congratulations on being old, ugly, and irrelevant. So, Robert De Niro is famous for a few movies. The Goodfellas, of course, Taxi Drivers, Killers of the Flower Moon, The Irishman, The Godfather Part 2, The First Godfather, and The Intern. He was, for The Godfather, I think everybody knows You Come Into My House, you know, that, but other than that, there's literally, he's so irrelevant. And he's only 5'10". Sorry, I was just reading that. He's only 5'10". That's so short. I just hate, you guys know how I feel. I hate rich people, irrelevant or not, that get involved in politics and get out there and tell us all who we should be voting for. No, I'm not voting for who you want me to vote for. You in Hollywood have done nothing good for society. Nothing. And I'm coming for you all. One by one, I'll take you down. I don't care if I liked you. I didn't even know who you were. You suck for being part of all of that. It's corrupt and horrible. And children have suffered greatly at the hands of Hollywood. And this jackass, this 5'10" jackass, decides because he played in a few good movies in the 70s and 80s that he can get up there and tell us who to vote for just because Orange Man bad. Yeah, well, you can shove it, Robert De Niro. So for, again, being a decent actor, for being a okay actor, getting involved in politics, telling people who to vote for, and then it's not even telling people who to vote for. It's like literally just segregating off an entire group of people. The racism isn't between black and white anymore. The racism is between blue and red. For hundreds, Robert De Niro, you can shove it. I'm tired of the elites who think that they are, because they make some good movies, they write some good books, they wrote a few good songs. I mean, literally, your guys' talents are expendable. Hate to break it to you, but they're expendable. It's not like you're God walking around. You were just cool in a movie, and you made us feel something, and congratulations. But you've ruined it, and the Hollywood boat is sinking. And if I have to hear one more old prick that was relevant in the 70s and 80s, over 30 years ago, you were relevant. Get up there and tell me that I'm some kind of clown show because I want to vote for a guy that made groceries and gas affordable, and that maybe, just possibly, I might be able to buy a house under his economy. You can go fuck yourself. Anyway, as always, hug your children, have a great weekend, and may the odds be ever in your favor.